So yeah, to get a gauge of your understanding of Kanban, the audience's understanding of Kanban, could you raise your hands if Kanban is, the Kanban method is fairly new to you? It's maybe something you don't do in your organisation, is it? That's, yeah, okay. That's, and the other, could you raise your hand if you're a Brickle Key Award nominee for this year? Congratulations. You can maybe check your email just now. This is So, yes, the other side of Kanban. So, when we normally talk about Kanban at conferences like this, or when we introduce Kanban to organisations, our focus is normally on the economic benefits we derive from using the Kanban method. We talk about reduction in lead time, we talk about higher quality, we talk about predictability, we use fancy terms like cost of delay and class of service, and now we're beginning to introduce the idea of liquidity into Kanban and our approaches in Kanban. And these are all economic benefits. If we look at the Kanban method through a different lens, we see people. We can see how Kanban is a kind of respectful and understanding approach to change, and how it can help us build sort of a meaningful workplace and a sense of belonging and happiness and enjoyment in work. The reason I want to talk about this is kind of born from a regret of mine. A number of years ago, I had my first opportunity to lead an agile change, and I approached the team, and we, as Monica said yesterday, I went with the book. Here's the book, we're going to do it by the book. And what I found, it was a good book, but what I found was half of the team were enthusiastic and wanted to come and change, and the other half of the team, they kind of resisted change. It wasn't something that they appealed to them. And from that, I kind of judgmentally came with an opinion that the enthusiasts were the geeks that we wanted to take forward and build this new software with. And the people who are not so enthusiastic were the kind of 9-to-5 people, the people who at the time I felt would just come to work to do a job and go home, and they weren't enthusiasts. So what happened was I went on, and we almost by the book maybe. We took the team and we built our XP team, and we did really well. We got the economic benefits that the customer wanted. When I say took the team, I mean half the team. The enthusiasts, the people who had shown a desire for change. The other half of the team were kind of left behind. And while we went on over the next couple of years, I began to notice that the people who didn't join us really disliked work, the working environment we were in. They were really unhappy there. It was challenging, it was a challenging environment, but they were unhappy, and I felt a regret. I felt I had the opportunity to make their lives that little bit better, but failed them. And this isn't just my one experience. I've seen this happening on a number of occasions, where an agile change comes in, we identify the enthusiasts, the people who are passionate about change, and we take them. And worse still, we supplement those teams by bringing in experts and enthusiasts from the outside. And this causes a divide and leaves others behind. And to me, that lacks and doesn't give a respect and understanding for the people who are working in the environment. So what is respect and understanding? I've proposed a open space for later on about respect for people. I'm not going to use that term, even though I maybe just have. I'm going to talk about respect and understanding. I think respect for people comes with many connotations that I'd like to explore further. But respect and understanding. I believe people come to work each day to do a good job. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm going to go and do a crap job today because I just don't like it. I'm not going to try my best. People have not just a material self-interest when they go to work. It's just not about the pay. It's about job satisfaction. People want to achieve a job satisfaction. I believe the best way to do a good job is to work in a good system. Those of you are sort of familiar with Deming, W. Edwards Deming. He has one of his a quote, and I think this quote, the relevance of this depends on your current point. But he said that 95% of the performance of an organisation is attributable to the system and 5% to the individual. Now, depending on how bad your system is, it depends on where you are there. But I've seen many occasions where I think that's very true. So creating a good system allows people to do a good job. The best people to create a good system, in my opinion, are the people who work in the system. Maybe create's a strong word, but help improve a system. And this is something that Toyota has taught us. If you read the book The Future of Management by Gary Hamel, he suggests that in the 100 years or so since the management has been invented, there's been very few real innovations, and that Toyota have given us one. They have harnessed the ability to use the innovative capabilities of all of the people who work in the organisation. And they do this through allowing the people within the system to help design and improve the system, and not by doing it from the outside in. They allow the workers who are in the system to identify the problems and help improve them. And I also believe that respect and understanding comes from continuous improvement, allowing people to continuously improve and understand that once we move to a new approach, or once we evolve to a new approach, it doesn't end there. There is always new challenges that face us, and that we should allow people to face them and help them improve. So here's my, I guess, hypothesis. I think the Kanban method is a method for the evolutionary development of respectful and understanding systems that help people do a good job. I could also say Kanban is a respectful and understanding method for the development of systems. I've twisted that the wrong way, but yeah, that's my hypothesis. That's what I guess I'll try and show in the remainder of the presentation. So it's kind of introductory. I'm going to go through the principles and practices and look at them from this perspective of respect and understanding. So we've seen these already, but our first principle in the Kanban method is start with what you do now. I think this, again, to use those two terms, respect and understanding, but I think the respect and understanding comes from the fact that we're not going to place a value judgment on the way you work. We're going to come to the way you, when we use Kanban, we're going to come and look at the way you work and understand and respect that there's good things that you do and the things that we will look to improve. Agree to pursue incremental and evolutionary change. This to me says it's being inclusive. The change I talked about earlier on, which was exclusive, it said, we're going to exclude you from this change and we're going to go on and do it with others. And then we have initially respect the current roles, responsibilities and job titles. Again, clearly here we see respect. Also, I think initially is one of these words which is quite cool. There's been a bit of debate in previous years about using this word and how people perceive the idea of respect and understanding, if it's just, respect the roles, responsibilities and job titles, if it's just now. I think I like this because it's honest. It says that as we develop and we change, there may be a requirement, maybe a need we uncover to change roles and responsibilities, and it lets people realise that there's not something that's happening underneath. It's something that we're upfront about, that this may happen. And then encourage acts of leadership at all levels. I think this is about encouraging everybody to present their ideas and come forward with new approaches to change. And again, I see this as being inclusive. So, going through the principles and what we can derive from the principles, to the practices, sorry. We have this idea of shared understanding, how Kanban helps us build a shared understanding within our teams. Now, traditionally, this is how it looked. For me, as a software developer before encountering Agile, this is my visibility and understanding of the system I worked in. There was me as a developer. I had my thing to do, and I had this queue of stuff in front of me, and I had no idea what was going on about me. Some people kind of call this the mushroom management. The idea of keeping people in the dark and piling dung on top. I've sworn already, yesterday, so I won't do it again. Then, a number of years ago, we had our Agile came along, and we introduced these stand-up meetings. This was stand-up meetings about helping to gain a shared understanding. But to me, it's still quite opaque. It leaves the rest of the system quite opaque. We get the snapshot in the morning that says, this is where we are today, and this is what our plan is, and these are the things that are maybe impeding work. But then when we leave the stand-up, then that kind of thing dissolves, it goes away. And also we tend to find that the stand-up can be this. I'm going to look at my feet until it's my turn to speak, and then I'll say something. And it doesn't, it's some bad patterns that don't allow us to gain that shared understanding. Then, well, I don't know who said it, maybe Toby said this, that Kanban shines a light on the process. It lets us see, it gives us a deeper understanding of what's there. So we have here as someone in the middle of this process as a developer. This is the Kanban hipster board, the Get Kanban board, analysis, development, and test. That's what we do. But it's an example. Here as a developer in the middle of this process, I get an understanding of what's coming down towards me, and I get to consider this. And then I get an understanding of what's going beyond and out towards production. I get a view of the system. I get to see the whole system. I get to see the amount of work that's there and how other people are working and what they're working on. We add these little things, these little symbols to our cards. We all have our post-it notes in the Kanban community. So we can stick little arrows on that say, yay, something's moved, and we can all see that it's moved. Or maybe something's not moving so well, so we maybe put some anchor or some symbol that tells us it's not going so well. And, well, that lets us, I think the anchors are quite a good one. It lets us empathise with the person who's maybe having a hard time. They're maybe not making the progress they feel they could, and we as other members of the team can see this and create some empathy with them. And then we have our traditional blocker angle as well. We also expand our understanding through work item types. These red dots is my way of symbolising defects. And we can understand the failure demand, the failure load that's on our teams. And also we have the blue tickets, which is a sort of class of service thing where we can understand what our customers' expectations are. We have a blue ticket that says it's hard deadline, we need it done by then. And we have this shared understanding across our team of what it is and how the system's working and the way the work's moving. And that's through visualization. We also have our process policies. We can add process policies. We have exit criteria, pull criteria, WIP limits. That all give us an extra understanding of our system. To me, again, this is maybe a hipster thing, but putting it on the board is an interesting way of showing it. But the most important thing is the conversation that leads to this and gaining the understanding of the system and the way we work with our team by having a discussion about how it works. Now, the interesting thing for me about this and the respectful and understanding thing is that what this allows us to do is when we approach improvement, our discussions are not anecdotal and emotional. They're based on our shared understanding of what our system is and helps us improve better. The next thing Kanban gives us, which is leads us to the first of the three intrinsic motivators, is the idea of choice. I like to use plain language, a wee bit better than the idea of autonomy that Dan and Pink talks about. So here we have a wee example for you. We have a WIP limit that has created slack for us. Our developer now has a choice. What can I do? I'm not going to pull something in because I'll break the WIP limits. So I'm going to choose to look at the options that are available and make my own choice as to how I can help. So maybe we could go and help test. There's a particular piece of work there that a developer could go and help the tester to complete. Or maybe there's something a developer's doing that you don't really know that much about. They're using one of these new fancy MVC JavaScript frameworks, and you want to go and try and learn a little bit more about it. So you could possibly go and pair with that developer. Our developer here has made this choice. He's going to help test. That work is done. And then we have another choice. This choice is within constraints. It's not a free choice that, of anything we feel we want to do, but it's within constraints, and they're guided by our pull criteria here. What are we going to do? What's the best thing for our team for us to do? Should we pull the oldest item? Or do we consider our fixed date item to be in danger, and should we pull that? So we've pulled the fixed date item. The next idea is that we allow the teams or we help the teams, Kanban helps the teams to improve, to create improvement. So here we are back at the same scenario we just looked at 2 seconds ago, but we have our 2 options, and then we've got the kind of hidden option. Well, maybe not hidden. Or the one I didn't show is probably a better way to put it. We have a blockage in flow. The work is not flowing through. We've got a larger than we'd hope for queue here for our QA team. So our budding developer here can go and analyse the system, look at what we could do to help improve the flow. What is it we could do to help the test team flow that work through or get the work through quicker? In our example here, we've just added a policy. We're going to put the work in a particular state for tests to do, because maybe that's something they did before, and it added time to them. So there, again, this is the second of the 2 intrinsic motivators, the idea of mastery, allowing us to improve the way we work. The third, I guess this one's a wee bit looser when looking at intrinsic motivation, or certainly my description will be, is the idea of purpose. And how Kanban helps us create a shared purpose. When I say the third, I mean the third of the intrinsic motivators. So I had an analogy for this, and then Andrea spoke yesterday, and I think his is brilliant. The purpose here, or one of the purposes here, is to fulfill the dreams. Is to take these dreams and turn them into reality, flow them through our system. The next purpose, which I guess is more aligned with the method as opposed to the work we do using the method, is to create learning. I don't know who coined the phrase, but I heard Mike Burrows last month talk in London, and he described the Kanban board as a knowledge discovery process. It's about learning. It's about pulling work through our system and learning more about the item of work itself, but learning more about our system and improving our system. So our purpose here is not only to fulfill these dreams, but is also to learn more about our system. For time, okay. Belonging. This is a hard one to actually present, I think, or it is for me anyway. So I've stolen an idea from in fact, I've stolen an idea from the guy who designed the T-shirts, Claudio Peroni. He spoke at the LSSC 12 last year, and he talked about how he helped improve a team and how they helped the team improve and using Kanban. And one of the things he did is he added to the penultimate column on the board, "are ready to celebrate." So the focus on the team, or what the team, let's give the team the chance to do is when it had gone through the flow, through the system, all of the various members had put input into it. An analyst had gone in and tried to understand what the customer wanted and did their best to do that, and our developer crafted some software, and then it came to a test who made sure that it was the highest quality possible. They could then celebrate. It was something that they positioned in a point where they would pull and they would celebrate the achievement they made together. I was going to use a sports analogy, but it was just a cycling one, which I thought was really good as well. But so we won't need it. So yeah, the idea we can celebrate together. Another interesting thing that Claudio suggested was some members of the team were maybe a little embarrassed, a bit more introverted. They didn't want a round of applause every morning at the stand-up when a particular piece of work was ready to be celebrated. So he put a volume control on the ticket, so that it was maybe just a pat in the back. So again, he was looking at the people there and understanding their needs and how they would like to express that celebration. The next one, I know I'm kind of going quite quickly through these, but the idea of flow, and not flow in managing flow in our system, but flow in immersion, as Piotr mentioned yesterday. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's idea of flow, immersion and absorption in what you do. So how does Kanban help us with that? So first, what we strive to do is reduce our multitasking. Multitasking allows us to focus on one thing, and by focusing on that one thing, we can then more easily get into flow. Kanban also, as Jim Benson tells us, helps us to reduce the existential overhead, the number of items that we have to think about in our head, even if we're not doing them, but if we know we have to do them, they're still there. By putting them on a post-it note and sticking them on a wall, you're kind of taking them out your head and you're putting them up there. It's kind of removing that thought. On the other side of that, we have, as Pavel mentioned yesterday, the Zeigarnik effect. If you've got two things, then you're going to switch mentally between them. But when one's done, it's ticked off, it's out. You don't have to concern yourself. Your mind doesn't have to be, your thought process doesn't have to be broken by this other item. And the visibility. Our managers I had a manager previously who would sit on my desk to see how well I was progressing, and he wouldn't sit there for a minute or two, he'd sit there for hours to see how well I was progressing. I didn't like that. With visibility, with our board, it's there. Everyone can see this. They can go and see the board and see how we're progressing. There's no need for these kind of interruptions. So this allows us to get into flow. So that's all great. Flow is cool, but what's so respectful and understanding for the people that we allow them that we help people to get into flow? If you're familiar with Martin Seligman, and I think Jacques mentioned Martin Seligman yesterday, he has 3 theories of positive psychology that lead to happiness. The first theory is the pleasant life. This idea of sort of get rewards and let me give you an example, it might explain it better. At the end of today, when Paul stands up and gives us a roundup of the conference, we'll all applaud because it's been a great conference. And Paul will feel nice about that. So that he'll feel the happiness of the pleasant life. The third of the 3, the more deeper happiness, comes from the meaningful life. And I expect Paul will experience this too through organising this conference for this community. He is contributing to something that's bigger than himself. And through that, you achieve a meaningful life. Back to flow. Seligman reckons that being in flow and being able to achieve flow gives you the second level of happiness, which is the good life. And if you know the British sitcom, it's not that, but you probably don't. So the next is trust, and I think I'm running out. I might skip through this one quickly. Trust, I will quickly say, again to quote Deming, Deming says, "In God we trust, all others bring data." In Kanban, we bring data to help us build that trust. If you want to learn more about this, speak to Hakan and Joe. These guys know this inside out. And we have class of service. The final one I'd like to talk about and give you another example of is safety. How Kanban helps us build safe environments for our teams to work in. So here our example is not our Get Kanban board from earlier on, but we have an ops team. And this ops team, these are the guys who make our network secure and fix our email when that's not working and make sure our databases are working. And they're a shared service. They work for various different departments, my little example. We're call centre, sales, finance, development, etc. In order to manage their work, we use one of these ticketing systems. These are great ticketing systems. I'm not making any suggestion that they're not good products. But the way we use them is we have the people who have the demand for this team, they'll raise tickets and they'll put them into the system, and it's a big black hole. And then maybe they've raised the ticket a wee bit late and they really need it done. So in order to expedite, and I've seen this on loads of occasions, we'll make connections with the team and we'll try and say, could you do this for me? Really, that'd be great. It'd be really helpful if you could just, so a wee bit of coercion into doing something. If that doesn't work, we'll go to the email and we'll CC in the boss and say, really, you really need to do it. We're CCing in the boss to add a little pressure. If that doesn't work, then the angry boss will go round and point and shout and probably mention somebody far up the hierarchy, the organisational hierarchy, that's going to be really upset if whatever this ticket is doesn't get satisfied. So that's not a really good place to work. So people get confused, the people in the team, what should I do next? They don't get any time to think and improve. It's kind of thankless. Yeah, I've just closed another ticket. It's stressful. That's not a good place to be. Then they start kicking back. Why don't these idiots just follow the process? It says in the process that if you want this ticket done, you raise it this level or that level. And maybe, you know, this ends up in people having to do work extra hours and not spending the time where they really want to be with their families. They're here fixing some ticket for someone, or then we end up in these confrontations that are not particularly nice and we want to avoid. So here is another board. This is a kind of pattern or a recipe for a board, kind of, that Ian Carroll, who organises the Limited Whip Society in Manchester, has kind of seen. He's used it a couple of times, and he calls this his shared service board. What we have is a number of lanes on the left-hand side, which help us indicate the priorities of work for each of these different services that are placing a demand on this team. They want work from this team. So each of these different departments can align their work low to high across each of these. And then what we have introduced here is a buffer. Now this is the thing that gives the safety, gives the team behind the buffer the safety to work from. To replenish the buffer, what one of the patterns I think Ian has seen is the teams, these different services will come together and prioritise that work into that queue, and they maybe do it twice a day or whatnot. But then what we have behind this buffer, this team can pull the work. There's visibility for these various different departments they can all see. It becomes more predictable if we have a kind of cadence of every half day or whatever suits the context to replenish that queue. And it allows this team to work in that kind of safe environment. So there's the buffer. So what changed? Bar I guess a kind of redesign in the communication or the way in which work is prioritised to that last board. There's nothing that really changed in the way the people did their job within the two different systems I showed there. It helped to make improvements, but it didn't make any kind of drastic changes to the people there. And I think that's empowering, that allowed people to the opportunity to do that. So quickly to summarise, respect and understanding. Kanban gives us a baseline and its principles for this. We then can use things like visibility to help create a shared understanding, to create a sense of belonging, help us reach flow and create a safe environment. We can limit our whip, which gives us choice and helps us reach flow. We can improve collaboratively. I didn't mention that as we went through. Yes, we can reach improvement. And then we manage our flow, and this gives us a shared purpose. And that is me. Thank you.